Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Bethany Hadfield, quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, and I'm wanting to just jump on and give another energy update for this Cancer new moon. So, which is today, 29th of June 2022. So new moon, of course, is all about the beginning of a new cycle. And we have it happening in Cancer, which is all about the mother and the home, emotions, feeling, it's water. It's also symbolized by the crab. Okay, so what we'll be doing today is I'll give a little bit of information about what these Cancer energies are that we're moving into. If you want to, you can get comfortable, make it somewhat of a little meditation exercise, and then I've got a little activity for us at the end, which will link in with the full moon coming up on the 13th of July. So if you want to, you can go and get comfortable, sit in a position that's going to be comfortable for you to just sit and relax and receive this message, and also do this little activity at the end, potentially with pen and paper if you want to, or writing it on your laptop, whatever works for you. So basically, I'll just give some insight. So for anyone that isn't aware of this Cancer energy, it is very feminine. It's ruled by the moon. So the moon, of course, rules our emotions, how we feel. It's very much about our inner world. This is absolutely a huge highlight for this current transit in Cancer, is this inner world. And the reason for this is because the inner world is the feminine, and we are coming into a time where we're seeing the scales, the balance between the masculine and feminine come really much more prominently into play. And we can even look at the symbology of the crab. Now, the crab is a creature that has a hard outer shell, and this is how it goes about in the world. Because it is so sensitive to the world around it, it is known to, first of all, retreat back into its home when it feels threatened, and also to go about its life in this hard outer shell. And so what it really does is, this is highlighting this balance between the inner world and the outer world. And this is really something that I think can be focused on this month. It's certainly been coming up for me a lot, is this relationship between the inner and outer worlds. Now, of course, this is the dance between the masculine and the feminine. So when we can begin to understand our inner worlds more acutely, we can begin to master ourselves, master our energy, and bridge this gap between the masculine and the feminine, or the inner and the outer. So there's a lot of this that's coming up with this new moon in Cancer, and the reason for this is because this does relate to our home, and it relates to our home on a number of different levels. Because what is the home? Home can be interpreted in many ways. It's the home of the inner world, but also the home of the outer world. Now, of course, Earth itself is our home. Now, Cancer is also about nurturing and caring. So it's this mother, it's this giving, this nurturing and loving care. And so the reason this is in focus is because, and how it relates to this inner world and outer world, is that the more that we nurture and care for our inner world, the feminine aspect of ourselves, the more this will be reflected in the outer world. Because it's about coming into alignment with this inner and outer world within ourselves, instead of ignoring it and just pushing through, keep going, keep doing. No. Now we are being asked to slow down, to stop, and look at our inner world. How are we feeling? Are there any emotions that come up? How does our body feel? Really paying attention to these messages and signals that are coming to us all the time in every action that we make. And this is listening to our body or listening to our inner world. So what's also come up as well, because Cancer is about this birth, and it is about rebirth, because we're already born as human beings onto planet Earth. So it's about the womb or the hara. It's also about breakthrough, because birth itself is a breakthrough. So it's about seeing these emotional breakthroughs and returning. It's about returning home as well. So if you're into astrology, you can also look into the 4th house in your astrology chart and have a look at what planets are there, or where this transit is for the 4th house for you. And from that you can glean and look into how it might be affecting you in your life at the moment, what areas will be highlighted. Okay. Now, some other transits that we do have at the moment as well is we've still got this feeling from this last full moon in Sagittarius, which was a supermoon, and it's all about expansion and taking action or movement, and it's very expansive. And the reason this is carrying over at the moment is because we have Jupiter in Aries. And so Jupiter in Aries is really, I would coin it as expansive action. And then when you tie this in with this Cancer energy, which is about the home, it's about how do we take expansive action in the home. Now, it might mean that a lot of people are going back home to family. It might mean that we view how we live differently. Maybe it's more about going out and exploring. Or maybe it's simply about taking more expansive action on our inner world, which then reflects, of course, our outer world. So environmentalism might be more prominent. These are all different aspects of the Jupiter in Aries that might show up in this transit. So what this is all about as well is focusing on that womb space. So if we are going through this rebirthing process, which is a highlight at the moment for humanity, it's about focusing on this womb space. Now, this is where our Kundalini energy resides, which is our prana, or our life force energy, which is no surprise that that's where new life is created. So to focus on this part of yourself, this is your energy source. So with this Jupiter element, it's to amplify your inner source. So after many months of clearing out, doing a lot of really deep diving emotional work with that supermoon in Scorpio, as well as that South Node Scorpio, which is still being felt at the moment, just letting go, massive transformation and letting go. It's now time with this Cancer new moon to reconnect with the home space, which is also the space within. It's your energy. So to reconnect with our energy, because the thing is that we are the technology. So in this age of Aquarius, where it's all about technology, and there is technology of the outer world, but what about the technology of the inner world? And this is being focused at the moment with this Cancer new moon. So it's understanding the technology that is us, our energy, because in the age of Aquarius, it's all about this electricity or lightning, which is this quick, explosive pulses of electricity. But our bodies are actually made up of this same electrical current, and we have it running all through our nervous system, and particularly in the brain. So, which of course, that's very Aquarian energy. So with this new moon in Cancer, it is about tuning in to this energy source. So using that, understanding that, and feeling that space in the hara, or the womb, which is both for male and female, which is where this Kundalini energy resides, or the energy source, the pure energy source resides, where you get that gut feeling. That's that gut feeling, okay? So this is an intelligence that we have residing within us. And so it's about learning to feel that energy. Of course, in the sign of Cancer, it's all about feeling and emotion. And really bringing that energy back to yourself. So it's understanding that we are this technology, and that it is now time for us to begin to learn how to harness and understand it. So with this new moon, it is about setting intentions, of course, for this new cycle ahead of this new moon, which is happening on the 13th of July 2022. So we can go through and check how we went in this cycle. So because it is, of course, it's a rebirth. So it's about our intentions with our thoughts or ideas and our feelings that are present now, which need to be acknowledged and made aware. So it's also about nurturing and caring, of course. So it's nurturing and caring for the home and ourselves. This might be in prominence of awareness, and if it's not, it's something that is supported to be made aware at this time. And so we may notice that our previously held ideas about what home is are changing. And this is because, you may or may not have noticed, the earth is changing. Our world is changing. So this upheaval that many of us have experienced through numerous emergencies has actually awakened and brought forth a shake-up of the stability of life as we knew it, so that we can begin to make new attempts that are more consciously aligned with ourselves and the earth, our home. So it makes this particular transit actually a very personal transit. So it's related in the astrology chart to the Imam Kolai, or the lower part of your astrology chart, because it's the moon, which is the fourth house. So this is your inner world. So this is what is the focus for this transit, is the inner world, or the feminine, the feeling. So take some time to focus on your inner world. And this is the manifestation of your outer world. So we're being asked to really sit and understand our inner world. What makes us feel comfortable? What brings this alignment? Because our body is also our home. We reside in our body. So how do we feel comfortable in our own skin, in our own body, in our own feelings and emotions? What nurturing do we need to do? And how do we nourish it? And nourishment isn't only food. It's what we watch. It's what we listen to. It's how we talk to ourselves. And so it is the layers of the self, the mind, the physical, the spiritual, and emotional. So begin to take notice of how you nourish and nurture each of these elements of your inner world. Just observe. Are there any changes in these? Any changes in your desire on what comforts you? Because this is this Sagittarius and Aries, it's just taking action. And this needs to be done in conjunction with the outer world. So when you are doing things in your day-to-day, how does it bring you greater peace to your inner world, which is each of those four quadrants? The mind, the physical, the spiritual, and emotional. So in every action that you make, in everything that you do, how is it impacting your inner world? Because when we can become more in alignment with what feels good in our inner world, the more that this will actually also come into alignment with our outer world. Because as someone great once said, be the change you want to see in the world. So by focusing on these parts of our inner self and really giving yourself this chance to do this, allowing yourself, this is where we can begin to see the impact or the change. So the little activity that we've got is, what we can do is write down what you do to nourish and nurture each of these areas of the self, of the inner world. So that is the mind, the body, physical, spiritual, and the emotional. This is emotional is particularly highlighted with this Cancer because it is all about how you feel. So it's about what works. Now, you can write this down. Write down each 4 of these elements of the self and write down what works for each of these elements of the self. What do you do in your everyday that helps to nourish or nurture each of these? And then another part to this is, what has changed? What are you doing now that you didn't used to do that is nurturing or nourishing these parts of the self? And what needs to change? And so with this activity, once you've written all of these down or made a note of what these are, when it comes time for the full moon in the 13th of July, you can do a stock or redo these same questions and see how it translates. Are they still the same? Is there anything different? And this is really creating this awareness of the inner world, of bringing it to the light, because that's what the full moon is all about, is highlighting our inner world. And so being able to do this task to reflect on this awareness of the inner world, it will help us to get a greater awareness and consciousness of how we behave and how we act. Because the more consciously that we can act, or more aware that we can become, this is what will change the world. Because by simply honoring ourselves, we are able to do what is necessary to make the changes in this world. And this is self-love. This is what it really is. And so giving that gift to yourself, but nobody is going to do it for you. So if you don't do it, it won't happen. So this is why it is really important, because we are coming into a time where we really are in a state of emergency. There is so much chaos in the world. And unless we do something about it, it will not change. We have to become the master. We have to start thinking about ourselves and what is really in alignment with who we are, what makes us really feel good. And when we do this and give this to ourselves, this love, this is what will change the world. Because currently, it's so reckless and it's all about money and greed, but that's all this masculine energy. And when we can bring it back into the feminine, this is where the balance is reached. And this is what is required at this time. This is what Mother Earth is screaming out for. So I hope that this has been insightful for you and helpful. And I look forward to connecting again in a couple of weeks' time for this full moon and seeing how you've gone, and that you have a wonderful practice of reconnecting with this inner world and giving yourself that love and nurture and care on this wonderful new moon, and that you have a wonderfully blessed new moon, a new cycle in Cancer, really nurturing and caring for yourself and of course for the world around you as a result. So wishing you all the best, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.